By 1880, the Bessbrook enterprise was in full motion, and linen was being exported across the world in huge quantities. As the village was growing in population, John Grubb Richardson and his son James Nicholson Richardson III sought ways to improve the life of their employees by providing transport to and from Newry and the surrounding areas. This is where our story picks up with Oliver, a tram worker in the 1880s.
Hello, my name is Oliver, and I am from Bessbrook. By now you've heard the story of how Bessbrook grew from a small milling site to, well, the medium milling village that it is today in the 1880s. Linen has been prepared in the village for over half a century, and you can really see it in the development of the village itself. Everyone loves the buildings and the spaces around the village to meet. But as the village has been growing, so too has the demand for transport. And although the mill is the major employer in this area, there are other industries, such as the quarries. In 1884, the amount of goods and workers that needed transported to and from the village had increased so much that the Bessbrook Spinning Company decided to build a tram line that would rival others across the world. Most of the village work at the mill, but I spend my days looking after the trams.
The Bessbrook and Newry Tramway was a hydroelectric line with its own power station in Millvale, where water from Camla River was used to power the tram. There was only one other hydroelectric tramway in Ireland and Britain, that being the line from Portrush and the Giant's Causeway. And while the Richardsons were cautious in investigating the electric cost, the tramway officially opened in October 1885.
The Richardsons are so smart with business, and they truly are forward thinkers. It was obvious that the village needed transport to Newry, and that we needed goods wagons to transport materials. But the Richardsons were cautious of such a venture, and they trialled the electricity cost for a 6-month period at the expense of the manufacturers Mather and Platt in Manchester. Once viable, the Bessbrook Spinning Company bought the tram lines and began operating in 1885.
Keeping with technological advancements, the Bessbrook trams had 3 outstanding features, which made them at the cutting edge of technology by the end of the 19th century. First, water power was used to drive the generators. Second, the lines were so constructed that the wheels of the goods wagons could be made without flanges and could run on rail or roadway. And third, copper wire was slung overhead at certain points on the route where surface conductors could not be used safely.
The trams are beautiful carriages, and it is a privilege to work on them. There are 2 carriages. One's 33 foot, the other 21 foot. Passengers would sit in the longer carriage, 24 in second class, 10 in first. There was also a trailer carriage with up to 20 road rail wagons. The journey to Newry would take you less than 20 minutes, and a return wouldn't cost you much at all. The service would run hourly in both directions. It truly was an inspiring piece of technology, and essential to the growth of the village.
The Bessbrook to Newry Tramway was a pinnacle of travel in the early 20th century, and the little village was at the forefront of technology in this era. Perhaps, though, the most inspiring monument to travel options in the 20th century was the Craigmore Viaduct, known locally as the 18 Arches. The Craigmore Viaduct was designed by Sir John McNeill and is around 1/4 mile in length. Built using granite from local quarries, the viaduct swept across the valley of the Camla River, and its highest arch peaks at 140 feet, making it the tallest viaduct in Ireland. The train from Belfast to Dublin began operating in 1852 and still runs over a century and a half later. Just another example of Bessbrook being integral to the industrial development of the country from a young age.
The 18 Arches is a monument to travel in our area. And not only is it an impressive landscape to look at, but the steam trains that pass through the valley are a sight to behold. The train from Belfast to Dublin passes through our little village, and it's just another example of how significant our location is. Another great site is the Egyptian Arch, and it's located just a mile down the track from the Craigmore Viaduct. The Egyptian Arch gets its name from its resemblance to the Nemes headdress that the ancient Egyptians used to wear, and it served as the main passageway to Newry. The Bessbrook to Newry tram line is a great asset to the village of Bessbrook and its people, and it shows the forward planning of the managers in the brook and their dedication to improve the lives of people like me. The tram line gave more opportunity to the village and made processes a lot faster and more professional. It was this kind of forward thinking that set Bessbrook aside in history, and the work of the Richardsons showed this. John Grubb Richardson set the vision of the village, but it was his son, James Nicholson III, that allowed the village to navigate through the next century.